Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sierra Smith. I'm a seven-figure Etsy shop optimization specialist and analyst with over 5 years of experience optimizing 100 plus shops in a range of niches, industries, digital products, handmade products, print-on-demand items. You name it, I have dealt with it. So I'm really excited to share some of that expertise here on YouTube. First, I'm kind of new here, branching into this world, but I do think there's a lot of expertise that I've been able to garner over these last few years. It's just been a very unique career, to be honest with you all. I spend about 30 hours each week just staring at Etsy, studying Etsy. My background is in business analytics. That's what my degree is in. So I have a lot of different kind of methodologies and thought processes that I think could really be beneficial for a lot of new and smaller Etsy shop owners who are really looking to grow their businesses and leave behind their 9 to 5s, transform what once was a side hustle into something that is actually sustainable and lets them essentially leave behind their 9 to 5. So that's really what I'm here to do, is just try to meet as many new shop owners as possible. Wherever you are in your Etsy journey, I think that we could connect and benefit one another. So this video in particular is about how to create a profitable digital product shop on Etsy in 2025. So this product, I will say, full disclaimer, this video is more so applicable to digital planners and digital journals and products like that. So probably like Notion templates, like products that would kind of serve a relatively broad audience. So or I say broad audience, just like a general product that can have a lot of different niches. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. I kind of just crafted a whole plan in terms of how to essentially approach a product, how to approach setting up and growing a digital product shop and creating products that actually meet demand on Etsy and are positioned within market gaps on the platform where there is underserved demand, where there's less competitors. And so you can actually start up a shop that's going to have demand, going to have relatively quick and consistent traction on Etsy. Because a lot of digital product shops get set up and then they don't ever make any sales. So that is not what I want for you. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into the actual tangible plan for you all. This is a slightly different video and it's a long video, but I think it's going to be really beneficial for those of you out there who are starting a digital planner, digital product, digital journal shop, or have already started one and just kind of want to pivot your strategy and actually have some actionables in terms of what you need to be doing to grow this business from 0 to 6 figures. So let's go ahead and get into that.
All right, so I went ahead and pulled out the document here so that we can work through it together. So this is essentially a template that I've kind of just created to walk you all through the steps. You see the very first things that I have listed here are customer service templates, because that is how much customer service matters for a new Etsy shop, really any Etsy shop, but especially when you're trying to grow sales and reviews. Customer service really matters. And this is in the form of you following up with customers after they do place an order. So I just go ahead and store these for quick reference. So definitely do this within the saved replies section on Etsy. So as soon as somebody places an order, you can reach out to them, let them know how to access their order, and just be very genuine with them. You can add, of course, whatever you need to add here to make it more personal, but I like to have at least 3 follow-ups just predefined for easy access. So this is like the first follow-up. This is the second follow-up, which includes tips for using your product. And I do want to offer utmost transparency here that this template is in it's essentially for a digital planning shop. So really any shop that you have, or I say digital planning, but it's a digital planner shop. So any shop that you have where you're selling planners, journals, or any product that can be sold to a lot of people, relatively broad or general, but it has, like there are ways that you can niche down within that overarching product. So that would kind of include, of course, like Notion templates as well, templates or some other products. Any kind of note-taking app, definitely all of this would fall under like a digital planner shop. So just to provide that context, that is how I did approach this, creating this growth planning within this document. So then you see down here, we have like that third follow-up. So that's just you essentially asking for a review. And I do mention putting that review link in here just to make that super easy for that customer to go ahead and just add in a review. So that would just be essentially you linking to their order link. So that's pretty simple. And I just want to mention that so that you don't overlook that really, really important part of just growing your shop. So have those templates, those saved replies ready for easy access. So you can pretty much send them as soon as possible after somebody places an order with your shop. You can just, have that Etsy app on your phone and then send that to them really, really quickly. Now, digital products are extremely, extremely competitive on Etsy. So I do start off this plan mentioning an Etsy ads campaign. So you are going to have to plan in most cases to run an Etsy ads campaign and manage that campaign. So full disclaimer, that is going to be, of course, some money out of your pocket starting out. So I do recommend that pretty much any new shop starts with Etsy ads. I recognize that different people and gurus say different things, but this is just the experience. And the experience that I've had, Etsy ads is extremely effective for garnering quick data to optimize your listings. I'm a big fan of iterative optimization. So you use the data that you get from your initial advertisements, and then you go back in and optimize your listings. And this is holistically, so of course the SEO, but also those visuals and those price points. That's really, really important. So if like the click rate is high for a listing, you're going to want to go in and do what you can do in terms of maybe aligning more so with the cover photo on a listing that has a high click rate, within a listing that has a lower click rate, or if it has if it's a listing with a high click rate and conversions and you're looking at that price point, you may want to figure out how to make other listings more closely aligned with that price point in terms if it is on par with that listing's value. So that's just kind of a disclaimer here. You are going to need to manage your Etsy ads. It is very, very simple to manage. It's pretty much largely just turning on and off your ads, and then of course actually trying to optimize your listings in themselves. So here I do mention this is just in the terms of if you want to fully remove yourself from operations, you're likely going to need to bring on somebody to your team, so an optimization specialist who does have Etsy ads campaign management experience. Most Etsy optimization specialists do have Etsy ad campaign management expertise because it's just kind of comes with the job typically. And again, it's not a super steep learning curve, but it is important that they just know how to read data and they know how to optimize listings based on the data. Of course, ad management is great in itself, again, in terms of turning on and off the listings, but you really want somebody who's going to be able to use that data to then go back into the listings and make the necessary changes to the listings. So I just mentioned here at least bi-weekly reviews of your ad creatives, your targeting, your budget allocation. So this is literally your listing setup. So you want to go in bi-weekly, or you can have a talent who can go in bi-weekly and do what they need to do to just update the listing images, update the SEO, and essentially reallocate your budget. So that is just essentially turning on and off listings, maybe raising the budget, maybe lowering the budget. But ideally, you'll want somebody who has an educated eye for that, or you're going to want to get educated on that yourself. But again, a very low learning curve, and I could definitely dive more into Etsy ad management within another video if you all are interested in learning more about how to do that yourselves. So I do mention too that as soon as listings are created, like once you create them, you publish them, I advise going ahead and starting the ads kind of like right then, like when you have your listings ready. So I say, let's say I say the sweet spot for any new shop is 20 to 50 products. So that depends on how competitive your product space is or your niche is. Digital planners are very competitive, but if you are going in with the approach that I recommend, then it's less competitive since you're going to be targeting underserved demand, which are market gaps. So you can start with 20 products and go from there. So I would say once you have your 20 listings created in your drafts, go ahead and publish them all and then immediately start running ads, because this is the period where Etsy is going to be testing engagement with your listings. And then of course this is going to be when you're able to garner data really, really quickly. If you're able to go in and kind of optimize your listings pretty quickly based on the data that you're already getting back, they're going to be able to make your Etsy journey a lot more profitable, even here at the beginning. And that's, of course, the goal here. So I do go ahead and recommend that you start running those ads for the sake of that data. And of course, you very well may start getting sales pretty quickly as well. And it may depend on the seasonality of your products. Like planners, if you launch with Etsy ads running and like end of December throughout early February, then yeah, you'll probably start getting sales pretty quickly, assuming your products are aesthetic and do ideally meet underserved market demand. So then I move into probably what I think is very, very important after that Etsy ads campaign management, which was really just a disclaimer about that budget, which may end up being actually up to 25 per day, 25 US dollars per day. If you are able to run with that maximum budget, I would ideally advise you go with that maximum budget if you are able to do that. If your personal finances allow you to do that, that is what I would recommend you do, just because you're able to get a lot of data really, really quickly. You're able to get sales pretty quickly. You're able to get reviews coming in pretty quickly, assuming you're leveraging customer service. So this is truly an investment in your business while it is an absolute infant. So I would just advise you go ahead and just dive in with that Etsy ads campaign and just keep a pretty close eye on it. If you're able to price your products relatively competitively, that's ultimately the goal here, not having dirt cheap products, because then it's going to be really hard to be at all profitable. But it's absolutely okay to be breaking even and even running at a slight negative at the beginning. And I know that that is controversial probably, but it's just the honest to goodness truth. You have to invest in your business long-term success, which looks like here at the beginning, trying to do what you can to get sales quickly, optimize your listings quickly so that it's less of a learning curve. It's less of an arduous, long learning process. You want to be able to get that data quickly. You want to be able to get sales quickly, and Etsy ads will let you do that. And with with ads and sales comes reviews, and with reviews comes increased credibility from search, because the review count is what shows up from search on Etsy. That is what you want to get at. You can look just as reputable as another shop that has way more sales than you if you both have the same amount of reviews, because only the review count shows up from search, not the sales count. So that is why that is so important. Now moving into digital planner market research and trend analysis. Again, this can be attributed to any digital product, but this is so important. This is what I do recommend for any digital product shop. I honestly kind of recommend it for all shops, but especially digital product shops, because it is such a competitive niche or industry, whatever you want to call it, to be in. Everybody and their mother can make digital products. So you have to do what you can to stay ahead of market trends and consistently introduce products that meet current customer interests. So the actions here, if you want to fully delegate these processes as well, is to hire a market researcher, ideally well-versed in Pinterest, eRank, Sales Samurai, TikTok trends, and I'm going to go ahead and add in Everbee as well. Those are just the top tools that I would recommend, but those are kind of like baselines. And if they have a little expertise in Google Trends as well, that doesn't hurt. But these tools, I would say, are just the most effective in terms of defining actual Etsy products. So that would be erank.com and salesamurai.io, pinterest.com, and then trends.tiktok.com. Or no, sorry, ads.tiktok.com. I have that whole URL right here. And then for Pinterest, it's trends.pinterest.com. So these are just the tools that I use, and that have worked really, really well, because they just have very live, up-to-date data, and you kind of are able to garner it from a wide variety of sources. I'm a big fan of Pinterest and TikTok, because those two apps are very much so indicative of like the current trends, especially for the digital planner target customers, which do tend to be women, who are right around like high school age, honestly, but I would probably raise it a bit and say like college age, just for the sake of having the actual money to buy the products. And then to around like, I would say like mid 40s tends to be like the target audience for digital planning products. This is every year, this is widening. More and more people are adopting digital planning products. But these two tools tend to be very indicative of the trends that are attracting these customers. So I'm huge fans of them. And especially Sales Samurai, because that is very specific to Etsy data. It is only Etsy search volume and competition data in there. It's not pulling it from any other platform, any other marketplace. It's just Etsy. So I say to just use Etsy's most trending keywords. Once you go into Sales Samurai, you'll see the keyword search tool. Just look at Etsy's most trending. Don't look at Google's most trending. Just look at Etsy's most trending. And that is just a lot of very high value data there. And so you have somebody on your team who's able to do that. That is great, because they're going to be able to take note of emerging trends, and they're going to be able to provide actionable insights, ideally, regarding these trends and how to actually implement them within your product mix. How are you going to serve these customers and these rising lifestyle interests? eRank is great, because eRank is also very reflective of current trends for keywords. I just find that it tends to have less keywords than Sales Samurai, but both tools together are pretty powerful tools, especially able to kind of cross-check keywords. But Sales Samurai does tend to have more keywords, and so does Everbee. So that's everbee.io. So I like to look within all the tools together, and then I also like to go into etsy.com, type the keyword into the Etsy search bar, and see if Etsy is recommending the keyword. And that tends to be all I need in terms terms of defining, is a keyword actually trending on Etsy? And that's really what we care about. Like, of course, if it's trending on Pinterest, if it's trending on TikTok, that's awesome. But is it trending on Etsy? There's still room to search that keyword and gauge whether it looks like it's about to begin trending. If you're able to find any competitor who is ranking for that keyword, who is a bestseller or a popular now, which that label is extremely visible, then that in itself could go ahead and tell you, okay, there's some demand here, and it very well may be rising demand. Click into that listing, scroll down to the bottom, look at that date, see when it last sold. If you have Everbee's Chrome extension, I have all these tools linked down below. Then you'll also be able to see like an approximate amount of monthly sales, and that can also be extremely valuable in terms of defining how many times that listing has recently sold. So that tool can also be very valuable for kind of just a live trend analysis, but you are going to want to have somebody on your team who is handling this for you and who can also keep a close eye on your top competitors. In the planning space, top competitors do tend to have a good pulse on lifestyle, like aesthetics and rising trends, just among all lifestyles, like Lucky Girl, Clean Girl, so many different things have been trending. Vanilla Girl, like it's just a lots of different very aesthetic keywords, and you'll know. You can just keep a close eye on the products that your competitors are creating, and that in itself can kind of be a way to almost even shortcut your own trend analyses, because if you're able to see if their products have demand or they're putting these new products out, that it can just be a good starting place in terms of products that you could additionally start looking into, like the keywords that they're optimizing that product for. How can you validate that this product is going to be in demand? And then what opportunities are they leaving for you open in terms of where is their product falling short to customer expectations? So look at those customer reviews as well if they have any. So that's something that you'd want that market researcher to be able to do, just to be able to gather that trend data for you. This is honestly, arguably, I guess, one of the most important steps in terms of having a digital product or digital planner shop, is just finding those rising market gaps, or any market gaps, even if they're not trends, just finding those market gaps and creating products that meet those customer interests. But especially trends, like trends can be really, really valuable because there's so many people searching for them like at one time, and it tends to be kind of like a relatively new concept. So, or not, like, yeah, concept, keyword, idea, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. It can just be a great way to create products where there are very, very few competitors, but a lot of demand. So that would be something you could also outsource. This is kind of how I would approach it. Um, if I were growth planning for an actual shop, I would just be taking note of who looks like they could be a good fit for this role. So I would literally be going in here and typing out people who have researched their links, portfolio, services, and that would just kind of be my own way to um, effectively compare different talents, not make any kind of impulse decisions, just have them all there. That's how I would approach it working for a client or in a shop for myself. And then I just went here too to mention, this is again very realistic. But if you have somebody who you want to hire, once you do hire them, make sure it's extremely clear when you provide the instructions, that they're identifying gaps in the market for your specific product type, digital planners and journals, and they need to be focusing on new lifestyle themes or seasonal trends. So just make sure that that's pretty explicit, or if you're doing it yourself, know that that's pretty much what you're looking for: new lifestyle themes and seasonal trends. And then if you have also outsourced product creation or product design, if you are not actually the product creator of your own products, then my recommendation would be to put them in contact with your product designer so you can remove yourself from the process of creating new products. And this is very real to how I would be documenting this so that I don't forget anything that's been done. I would literally mention who has been contacted for a quote, and if they respond, at that point you would be writing in kind of what they said, what their proposed rate was, proposed timeline for new ideas, what their, is it weekly, bi-weekly? Like, you would want to note that kind of stuff as well. So that I would just be very realistic. Again, goal here, maybe to remove yourself from that process. And this is kind of showing you how to do that. Moving into marketing campaigns development, this is not as crucial, but it can still be a very, very important part of growing your business, would be kind of like that external marketing strategist. So identify a Pinterest and Instagram advertising specialist to boost your visibility. Start creating content for Instagram and Pinterest, focusing on visually appealing posts that highlight the key features of your planners and journals. After validating the demand, and again, this is very realistic to an actual on how I would actually go about kind of documenting next steps based on a market gap defined. So market gap defined or trend defined, minimalist journals, Notion templates, I would be writing that in right now. So after, of course, validating any demand, at that point, you would want to figure out how you're going to leverage your social media marketer or your external marketer to increase that product's visibility and sales, especially if you're able to validate that this is a trend that transcends platforms. It can be really smart for your business to be directing traffic from external places to Etsy. Again, the goal here is to get positive reviews coming in, sales coming in. This is all just important. You'll get your listings conversion rate high. You'll get your listing quality score high. So traffic, all traffic is good traffic. If you're able to direct traffic to your Etsy shop, that is a win, because the goal or the objective, whatever you want to call it with that, is when you're directing traffic to your Etsy shop, the goal is to eventually, sooner than later, ideally begin ranking organically for a lot of the keywords that your listings are optimized for. So once you start getting that listing quality score up, you start getting a lot of sales and reviews coming in, you start getting that credibility of your shop up. It does become a lot easier for people to trust your shop, click into it, and buy your products. Of course, Etsy is also going to begin ranking your products more highly organically. So it is, again, an investment in your shop as an infant. So then I would also recommend that you look into somebody who can manage an email campaign. I know I'm mentioning a marketer, a marketer for this, but if you would prefer to handle these things for yourself, all I would say is to study up on it, read up on it, become an expert at it if you can before you try to dive into these things, because you don't want it to end up being waste time, maybe even wasted money if you're just trying to essentially throw spaghetti at a wall because you don't want to kind of outsource these things. And I understand if you don't. But it's just it's really important to just make sure that you are knowledgeable on these things before you start attempting to market and invest your time and energy into these platforms. So for an email campaign, it would just be important for you to be highlighting your new product launches, seasonal promotions, and exclusive offers. Personalize your email content if you can based on your customers' behavior and preferences. So if you can get somebody who can kind of create segmented email lists, that would be pretty nice as well. And then integrate feedback from email campaigns into future product development to ensure your offerings meet customer expectations. So email campaigns are just really, really effective for really just building a devoted community that bypasses kind of all algorithms, that bypasses for the most part, like fees, if there are any. It's a really, really good community to have. That is your community right there. You're able to not easily, but you're able to pretty effectively um, get repeat customers out of an email sequence. So that makes sure time and money spent up front, like acquiring that customer in the first place, go much farther because you increase that customer's lifetime value. And that's a big win in the e-commerce world. So again, I'm documenting these next steps. This is exactly how I'd approach growth planning if you did have a new shop, literally documenting these things. So if you are facilitating this through like an external source, you're trying to outsource this, then I would be taking note of whether the job posting has been up, if talents have been contacted, the posting link, and then ideally have some idea in place. You don't have to do this, but if you do have some idea in place in terms of what products you initially kind of want your campaign developer or your social media marketer to begin advertising, that can be pretty helpful as well. And then if you're able to kind of take note of any of your limited time offers, any of your Etsy promo codes, and share those things with those marketers, that can be helpful as well. And then kind of do what you can to essentially leverage any expertise that you have in this space. So especially if you are the product creator yourself, if you're able to actually write out tips and include product photos and whatever you can do to help customers to feel more confident about purchasing a product and the effectiveness of a product, then definitely it's like take pictures, take notes, make that easily organized, um, maybe in a Google Cloud folder, and then share that with the marketers as well. And that would just be for very actionable steps regarding actually outsourcing the marketing and the email campaign development. Next would be that strategic product development and market expansion. So, you have those market gaps already. And again, this may already have kind of been implied, but I did just want to go ahead and take, actually note that you are going to be having to implement any of the data that has been garnered in terms of like those trend analyses. You are going to have to create the products, or you're going to have to outsource that. So that would be something else to consider in terms of just the entire budget that you have. Like, are you going to be outsourcing the ongoing product creation? And if so, again, getting that person in contact with your optimization specialist can be really, really helpful for just kind of removing yourself from those processes. Getting them in touch with your market researcher, of course, is going to be important. So that's just things to know, but you are going to have to kind of plan out how to approach that product creation process. And ideally, if you have this market researcher who is giving you lots of trends, you don't want that timeline to be super long between them sharing that trend with you and between you creating that product, or your product designer creating that product. Of course, give yourself or your designer ample time to create an attractive, effective product, but it's underserved demand right now. If you wait too long, wait 3-4 months to create that product, it might not be a trend anymore, or it might have a lot more competitors at that point. And either way, you've kind of missed out on what was a really good opportunity. So that would just kind of be something to keep in mind as well, is the anticipated timelines for product creation. And if that's something you should be handling or outsourcing that to somebody, you can take note of any competitors that you've been able to see who you could additionally share with your product creator, or just have a reference for yourself when you're creating products, that the aesthetic that you need to be meeting with your designs that you're creating. And then you can take note of any additional product recommendations. It's just good to have all this compiled within one spot, so that when you're ready to create the products, or you're thinking about which ones to start with, trying to figure out which ones to prioritize, it can be just helpful to have all of this in one spot, so you have a good feel for what all needs to be done, how long it may take. It's just, this is just kind of how I'd approach it as like an actual business owner. So, of course, too, with this being a digital planner, I'm mentioning like stickers, like cross-selling opportunities as well, and how to approach the creation of those items. Again, listing out your competitors for easy access, so that you are not just creating products that don't at all meet the mark. Aesthetics do matter a lot. And then this is pretty realistic example of kind of how you would be finding Pinterest trends or other lifestyle themed trends, and then essentially incorporating them within your products. So some trends that were noted were reinventing your life aesthetic, romanticizing your life aesthetic, healing aesthetic. So I'm just kind of mentioning here some ways that maybe existing planning products, like existing kind of general broad planners, existing maybe that girl planners, and which is which was a huge trend as well, could essentially be tailored to serve these new themes. So it could just be the incorporation of a few additional pages that specifically guide these customers through their journeys. This can be very effective. Just so you know, you don't necessarily have to create a new product. If you have one broad planner, you can just add a few aesthetic pages in there that, again, of course, guide customers through their journey, guide customers through how they're supposed to use this product to help them reach that vision. Again, like if this is a lucky girl planner, it would be kind of teaching customers what lucky girl syndrome is, and how are they supposed to, quote unquote, attract this luck into their lives. So, of course, there could be some research there, or you may want to outsource that to somebody who is more knowledgeable on some of these things. I additionally included a screenshot of a mood board because that can, of course, be helpful for creating products and just making sure the aesthetic of the products, again, actually aligns with your customers' preferences. It can also help with listing image creation, and it can be a good resource to share with your product designer or your listing graphic designer, again, for creating those listings images. And then this would be just for ongoing. It can be for SEO, but again, it's just so you kind of have an idea of the exact keywords that you would want to be targeting, ideally for like trends, but also um, really kind of just like for any kind of product. If you're able to kind of take note of keywords that you're able to validate are really strong keywords with high search volume, better if it's low competition, then you're going to go ahead and take note of some of those keywords as well, so that you are essentially removing any barriers to your own progress. So these can be like easy to access keywords for when you're optimizing your products, or these can be a list of keywords that you share with your optimization specialist so that they are making sure to include some of these keywords within your listings. So this kind of the goal here was more diverse targeting of keywords, just kind of different things that you kind of want to make sure they mention: Android, iPad, calendar, the year, student, book tracker, reading planner, just kind of a slightly more diversified keyword targeting approach. And then I also took note of market gaps and high value keywords. These can be really good, really important to take note of because these are the areas where there's a lot of search volume and relatively low competition, at least compared to other planner keywords or digital product keywords on Etsy. These are what we would consider to be like quote unquote market gaps. And you can still, of course, do a lot more digging into live data. Everbee.io would be like the best tool there for keyword research, for finding those market gaps relatively quickly. So yeah, that's kind of where I pulled these keywords from Sales Samurai, but yeah, Everbee can definitely be used here as well. And it's just good to take note of these, some relatively long tail keywords in here that can definitely help with cutting through competition. I do mention to focus on high demand niches. So I mentioned this is like another kind of lifestyle themed trend that has been around kind of for a while now, but witchy planner. And then I took note of kind of the process of that product creation, kind of what step we're at. Definitely, again, as a business owner, you just want to take note of all this stuff so that you know exactly where everything is at in its life cycle, essentially. like and then as you're planning out the product creation process, it is also good to consider how you plan to upsell customers to increase that average order value, increase that customer lifetime value. So right here, I take note of like a way to potentially bundle some of the planners together that are already in creation. So just also keep this in mind because you can make a lot more money from a digital product shop when you have some strategic bundles in there, especially if you have standalone listings of just one of the planners. And then at the beginning of the description, you link to that bundle, but then you also mention that there is a bundle and that there is a link to that bundle in the description within that listing's images, because those images are the highest value, or they're the highest visibility part of that listing. So that's really how you can get the most bang for your buck out of creating bundles. It's just making sure that they are as high visibility and as accessible as possible. But yeah, definitely try to take note on some of that as well during that product creation process. And then I also take note of some of those immediate next steps. Definitely try to take note on these things as well. Begin planning what, begin finalizing what, optimization of what. So just all of this is just very realistic examples. And then this is going to be probably like the most important part in terms of if you are actually trying to pretty much delegate the entire shop management process, or every process that has to do with managing your shop, growing your shop. You need to also kind of define those roles and responsibilities for ongoing growth. You may even want to have your own form of like a mini org chart, like organization chart, where you're kind of laying out the responsibilities of each person, who reports to who is technically the overall shop manager that's going to be facilitating everything, so everybody knows that they should be ideally probably reporting to them as well. But yes, you want to make sure that your team roles are optimized for efficiency. So this also means that you are bringing in talent who have specialized expertise in the exact thing that you need done. So it could be the easiest thing to do could be to bring on a single, maybe optimization specialist who also has graphic design experience, who also has some marketing experience, email marketing, whatever. That could be the easiest thing to do. But if you really want an efficient team, it tends to be best to bring on different people for the different roles, like within that overarching responsibility, because there's a lot of different aspects that go into shop management. So if you really want to have an efficient team, it's good to have people who have expertise. So like have an actual designated graphic designer, have a designated email marketer, have a designated shop manager, and that helps a lot in terms of just growing your business efficiently. You want to make sure that you know who has which roles. So, make sure you know what your graphic designer is doing. Again, like who is he reporting to, and know what your optimization specialist is doing. Kind of if they have any kind of weekly, any kind of time frames, hourly commitments, weekly commitments, like whatever that is, you just want to have a good understanding of what they do, what their budget is, and kind of how long you want them handling those tasks, which might be kind of ongoing. And then also, what I mentioned earlier was about that market researcher. So if you're able to also kind of define who that market researcher is, and maybe how many trends you want them to be looking into, probably you want to try to give them some autonomy here, but like if you just want to define some things in terms of what they're looking into and then who they're also reporting to, that's when you would want to define those things as well. So how all those team members laid out. So a graphic designer, a shop optimization specialist / manager, and a market researcher. That largely I would say those are like the core 3 roles to have in place for like a digital product, digital planner shop. You'll want to have those roles in place because they are just very important. And then, of course, like I had mentioned, like that external marketer is going to be a really key aspect in terms of growing the shop. Like you really want to start growing the shop pretty quickly. An external marketer will be really helpful, and they'll also just help you to make more out of the customers that you are already bringing into the shop, especially with like that email strategy. It's pretty much every e-commerce business should have an email list. So even if you want to bypass all the other external marketing, you really want to have an email list being set up so you're able to keep those customers, really have your own dedicated customer base, and be able to send new product launches, new promo codes, new sales, and the like. Again, you want to document any next steps here as well, just for easy access. So then I kind of touched on some of those next steps, kind of an overview of those next steps. If you to finalize that team structure, depending on how much you are outsourcing, you may want to go ahead and do this right now so that somebody else can go ahead and facilitate all those next steps for you. So confirm roles for your optimization specialist, for your graphic designer, and then begin onboarding as necessary. Decide on hiring a market researcher and defining their scope of work. Launch new products. So you want to complete and upload any products, either you or your shop manager / optimization specialist. You just want to have a good pulse on ideally what products are in process of being created. So just kind of list them out right here. And so you'll have a good understanding of the products that need to be created. And then you also at this point should know whether you're going to be creating those listings or somebody else is going to be creating them. And then run targeted ads. So after you launch those new products, you'll want to have ads set up. Again, you may want to outsource this, but you definitely want to make sure that this is something that is done for your new shop. You don't want to bypass ads just because you may not know how to do it. And then implement those email marketing campaigns. Go ahead and get them set up now so that from day one, any customer that comes to your shop can be turned into an email list subscriber. Give them a good lead magnet, something to get them through the door. So probably like a promo code tends to do the trick. Mention it within your listings, mention it within your listings images, mention it within your shop announcement, and then you'll be able to start slowly acquiring your email list, like email list subscribers. And then if you have a shop banner as well, which you probably should, then go ahead and put that link to your mailing list on there as well. You may even want to throw a QR code in that shop banner as well. And then collect and analyze feedback. Can't miss this just because a lot of people think it's just like set and done. If you're not doing it, somebody needs to be doing it. But once your listings are launched and you're running ads, you do need to be not documenting, you just need to take note of customer feedback. So this is like the data, so the click rate, return on ad spend, views. You want to take note of all these kind of things. It's really, really important to take note of these things and figure out how to iteratively optimize your listings based on that data. So again, this can be something that somebody else does, but you need to make sure that it is done. This is not just a set and finished process. So that is just kind of the overview of any immediate next steps. As a small business owner, I also recommend that you document any of your latest steps. So any actions that you have very recently taken or kind of in the process of taking. And some examples would be, what planners have been sent to your graphic designer. What are they going to be sending over, as their deliverables of this phase? Are they going to be creating the thank you files with those products as well, which ideally Well, if they're not, somebody needs to be creating them, since those are going to be the downloadable files post-purchase. Most typically, and it's just good to do that for branding purposes and for getting people to leave feedback, since you can encourage them to leave feedback in those thank you files. You also want to take note of any kind of additional work that may be needed as well. If you are planning on kind of removing yourself from certain operations, maybe after a certain point, you want to take note of that as well. What tasks you do plan to outsource. And then, like again, I mentioned there's like steps you would currently be taking. You want to know if any additional sales need to be set up. So additional ongoing 24 to 48 hour sales. This is a pretty important scarcity tactic for a new shop, since that countdown timer will show up on those listings. So if you set up for 24 hours, set it up at 75% off, that is a very compelling sale, and it can very well encourage impulse buys. So that would be something to take note of as well, because somebody needs to be constantly setting those up. I would advise setting them all up at once, maybe once per month. You set up 30 sales of 24-hour durations, you or somebody else. But yeah, I would say that's another thing that pretty much needs to be done as well. And that helps with you pricing your products pretty competitively. And you can even price them at relatively premium price points, but you use that sale to get it down to a very competitive price point in the market. And that helps keep the perceived value high, and it can help you with more so premium positioning of your brand for when you do want to start raising your prices a bit later. You just kind of start lessening that sale. Another immediate step would be, regarding who you're contacting. You want to say kind of what step you are at in terms of that client acquisition, or not really talent acquisition process. So what are you waiting on? It could be a quote. It could be what tools they said they're going to use. But want to take note of that as well, so you can keep that moving forward. I also would mention any job postings that are up. I like to include direct links so that there is no kind of hindrance on that progress. I'll just click into that, check on who's applied, and then start following up accordingly. And then I also would take note of kind of the scope of that task. This is just something to keep in mind, so that as a business owner, this is an ongoing thing. So you need to take note of these things so that you don't forget them. So I would even be taking note of kind of what tools you want them to use and what strategies we want them to kind of implement. Or, of course, you can lean into their expertise as well for this in terms of defining these things. And then you also want to take note of any product changes that are necessary. So whoever's looking into those products, that's something that would need to be documented so that none of that is overlooked. It can be kind of easy to bypass some of the products themselves because you're just so focused on getting the shop up and running. But trust me, if those products are messed up, if there's anything in there that customers will not like, you're going to be really quick to start getting negative reviews and a lot of customer messages, because people don't like a product that is not seamless. And then the rest of this is just some current action items as well. So product refinements and pretty much product refinements, and then some of the immediate things to do after the creation of those refined products. I like to just act like I am a 2-year-old or probably, 5-year-old or whatever, and really just lay out the immediate next things that would need to be done so that there is no room once I get back into diving into the shop. So I just want to make sure that everything is implemented. So you want to take note of anything that you would personally want somebody else to also keep in mind, or this can be something that your optimization specialist or your shop manager does themselves. So that is pretty much it for this video. I know it's a little bit different, but I did just kind of want to walk you all through this process. I think there was a lot of very valuable information in here that a lot of people could really, really use for starting digital product shops. I see so many people trying to sell digital products and so many people not ever making any sales. And I just wanted to share this very strategic way to approach growing a shop, starting the shop, and having products that people actually want, and that you're able to validate essentially that there is not a whole lot of competition for. So really meet those market gaps, meet that underserved demand, and just have a strategy that holistically serves those customers on Etsy. And then essentially you can remove yourself from those operations as well through delegation of all these different roles as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys subscribe, you comment down below. Let me know any other videos that you'd like to see. If you'd like to work with me, all my links are down below. I would love to get in touch with you. You can hop on a call. We can, chat over a cup of coffee virtually. So, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'm happy to do any of these tasks for you and kind of act as your shop manager / optimization specialist. So thank you so much for watching this, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.